Good morning. I thought I would show off my version 1.0 of my all-electric, all-grain home brew system. It's a good day to be brewing. It's a blizzard happening outside right now, so might as well be inside. The mash tun. It's a 5-gallon igloo cooler with a stainless steel valve on the bottom. And then inside we have just a really simple stainless steel mesh hose to filter out the grain. This is the hot liquor tank of my system. It's actually serving two purposes here, which is a common approach to take to save some space. And as you can see, I'm brewing in my kitchen on top of a washer and dryer, so my footprint has to be very small for the whole system. But anyway, what this is serving as is a hot liquor tank as well as the heat exchanger for my HERMS system during my mash. So if we look inside here, there's a stainless steel coil with hoses connected here. I have water recirculating right now. I'll go over that later. But basically, this is going to be maintaining the temperature of my mash by circulating water through this water bath. I have a temperature probe in here, which is connected to a PID up here, which is controlling this hot plate down here, so you can see it flipping it on and off to maintain the right temperature. So during the mash, I'll be recirculating through here, get the temperature dialed in perfectly, and then after the mash, I'll have the temperature raised a bit in here to sparge temperature, and then I can continuously sparge the system. The counterflow chiller, this is the Chillzilla. It's convoluted copper. This is the last thing the beer will touch before it goes in the fermenter. Boil kettle. This is 10-gallon from Northern Brewer. I'm actually heating up some strike water right now, so you can look inside. The temperature probe, as well as a ball valve to take out. You can see it's heating right now, so the camera fogs up a bit. I have everything. I have both the boil kettle as well as the hot liquor tank insulated. This is a double layer of insulation here because I really need to get this boiling. But this insulation actually makes a huge difference. Highly recommend doing this if you're doing electric brewing. This is a Burton 1800 watt induction cooker. It's a really cheap one off Amazon. You can get it. I got mine off Craigslist. But you can get it very affordable. It's actually a nice thing to have anyway. And it turns out that this will hold 6 or so gallons, maybe 7 gallons at a boil in an insulated container such as this. It takes a little while to get up there, so what I do often is I use this immersion heater to kind of give it a little kick in the butt. Hooked up one, obviously a different outlet, because the two of this is 1000 watt, this is 1800 watt, so we're putting a lot of energy into this system. But the induction cooker actually works really well. This Northern Brewer brew pot is induction ready. It's got a clad bottom, so you have to make sure you're going to buy something like that if you're going to go this route. Auburn's PID controller. It's a universal plug and play. I went with this because I knew I was going to use this for brewing, which was maybe the primary reason I initially bought it. But I wanted to also be able to use it for sous vide cooking, and it turns out that it works really well for both. I use the same vessel here for larger pieces of meat and larger cooking in sous vide. And what I do is I just basically take the coil out, still recirculate the water. Sometimes I hook up a smaller pump here because I don't need much power behind it. Recirculate the water in here, have the PID controller control the hot plate, and I get this 5-gallon PID cooker, which is pretty impressive, I think, and it works incredibly well. But you can also, sometimes I'll plug in a slow cooker or something else into the PID controller and control that. But you get a lot of different uses out of a single PID controller. It's expensive, but it's so easy to use. And it just works really well, and you can get a lot of different uses out of one device. This is a March manufacturing pump. It's got the stainless steel head on it. I went with stainless steel fittings for everything in the system. As you can see, there's a lot of stainless steel in here. I use this for a lot of different things in the system. So I'm going to use it to pump water from the boil kettle into the mash tun for strike water. I'm going to use it to recirculate the mash tun through the HERMS system, through the heat exchanger. I'm going to use it to transfer to the boil kettle, and then finally I'm going to use it to pump through the immersion chiller, or the counterflow chiller at the very end of the brew. So this is actually the Chugger beer pump. made by one of the competitors of the March pumps. This is also nice. It's got the stainless steel head as well. It's two functions. One, what it's doing right now, which is recirculating the water, as you can see in the hot liquor tank. That's just keeping the temperature nice and consistent throughout. And then finally, I'm going to use it to sparge continuously when I'm done with the mashing in. Something else that I went with this system are these quick disconnect valves. You can get these from bargainfittings.com, which is a great place to buy fittings in general. They're very inexpensive. But if you have never seen these are really nice because you don't have to deal with a bunch of clamps and a screwdriver to get off everything. So you can actually probably do this with one hand. You just flip those sides and then the valve comes off, and then you just pull them back down and get it back on. So. Alright, we're ready to begin brewing some beer. Strike water in the boil kettle is at about 170, is right where we want it. I've been recirculating the strike water with the larger March pump. Our hot liquor tank, which is right now our HERMS system, is right at 67.4, 67.5. It's about 0.2 degrees high, but should be just fine. Right now I'm just going to transfer the water from the boil kettle into our mash tun and go from there. Our grain right here. Take a look. It's all mashed, making a porter today. So I'm going to add the grain, stir it up. Alright, so I have doughed in now. I have the system recirculating. So you can see I need to upgrade, I think, to a bit of a bigger mash tun here, kind of at capacity. But I have water recirculating through the coil here. You can see the hot wort going through here, through the heat exchanger, and right back up into it. And you can see that it's only been going for a few minutes now, and you can see already that beautiful color, nice and crystal clear, being filtered as it goes through the system. Which is really nice. The temperature probe is now right here within the mash tun, so the heat exchanger is being dialed in to maintain the temperature of the mash tun itself, which is nice. And you can see that pretty close to temperature, 65.6. We've got to heat up another degree or 2 Celsius to get to our target, but pretty close. Give it a little time. Alright, we now have mashed for an hour. Then I boosted the temperature of the hot liquor tank to about 77 degrees. Cooled off a little bit, it's still pretty close. Now I'm going through the continuous sparge, where we have hot water from the hot liquor tank now being pumped into the mash tun on top, and then we're flowing out of the mash tun back through the coil, and we have our sweet wort coming into our boil kettle. Alright, now I have everything over here cleaned up, and now the hot wort has been transferred into the boil kettle, and I have it boiling. You can see the temperature here right about at boiling, so I'm going to count this as time 0. I'm going to add first hop schedule, 1 ounce of Magnum's hops, and I'm going to throw that in, and then in about 45 minutes, I'm just going to add the aromatic hops and some Irish moss, and then we'll cool it down and go for it. I'll show you real quick what it looks like on the inside. So I already had some hot break and pulled that out. You can see it's all warming up in there. So here's the counterflow chiller in action. We have pumping cold water through the counterflow chiller from this ice bucket back into the sink, which is coming out nice and hot. Then we have supply water going back into the cooler level consistent, and the water going into our carboy is nice and cool, probably a little bit even cooler than room temperature. So we're getting nice cold, and you can see the flow rate is pretty fast. So we should be able to go through this whole thing within a matter of just a couple minutes. Might even turn it up a bit.